So we are here with Kate and Rosie. How are you guys doing?
Very well, thanks. How
Awesome.
are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Fantastic. That's my beer. Awesome. Thank you, Mika. So,
Woo.
I'm sorry about that. That was a bit messy.
Cheers. Ding.
Salud.
Salud.
All right, beer everywhere. Okay, so what's our first question? It's a bit tricky because there's so many things to talk to get to where we want to get. If somebody doesn't know you, can you describe yourself in like 2 sentences? Like, what do you do? What's your practice?
So my practice is it's supposed to be very joyful and uplifting work, and it tries to really sit on the boundary between abstraction and realism. So I just like that juxtaposition of things that feel very imaginative and dreamlike, but they're also based in reality. So that weird edge walking along that line.
Okay.
And my practice is, I guess, about exploring the human form and exploring the many ways in which you can portray human form. It's always been a constant fascination of mine, and it's just I'm exploring my own practice within paint. Like, I kind of only started painting last year, maybe 1.5 years ago. So for me, my practice is still very much like exploring myself through the materials and just like being playful and just making what I want to make at the time instead of getting too fixed on why I'm doing it or why I'm like choosing the things I'm choosing. It's more like an intuitive way of working. Yeah.
So you started painting 1.5 years ago.
Yeah.
You started painting.
Yeah, so I was doing like art before that, but not painting. So I was doing line drawings.
Yeah.
Really super minimal stuff. And then I was like gradually incorporating paint, but I couldn't quite ever figure out how to switch from like super minimal to like painting. For me in my head, I was like, how am I ever gonna, do that? So it was like a gradual process of incorporating paint. And then last year I had a show where I was pushed by the gallery to paint, like include lots of color and do all this stuff. So yeah, I did it because I was told, like pushed to, and then from that like blossomed a whole new field of work. And that's kind of what I've been exploring ever since. But yeah, it's still difficult to navigate sometimes.
And now you are working as an artist full time, both of you? Like, that's what you do? That's what you do for a living?
Yes.
Yeah. So what are the biggest challenges in terms of working as a full-time artist? Because I'm pretty sure that sometimes it might be, unstable or uncertainty. What are the biggest challenges working as a full-time artist that you would say?
I guess for me, it's been just not having a clear path. So I think in a lot of careers, there's a bit more of a set route, You start as the assistant, you work your way up to the producer, whatever. Whereas in the arts, and my career is really zigzagged. So I've gone from painting really large-scale murals, doing a lot of commercial work, doing a lot of commercial large-scale advertising work, and then transitioning into my own practice. And there's no set way to do it. You could go about it any way, and it's just, it's such an unpredictable field. And I think another thing, just in practical terms, is cash flow. Like, you might have an amazing 6 months, and then it might be really dry for a few months, and then you're just trying to like make sure you're balanced going forwards.
So you have to be responsible with money.
Yes.
Yeah. Just save your money, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I have the same experience of Rosie within all of what she just said. But also I think it's really hard when you're self-employed to consistently back yourself and to just like, I think sometimes if you don't have like a set path, that you're not working for someone else, like you have a lot of spare time to sort of like ask yourself questions and doubt yourself and sort of spiral a bit, like especially in those times where you might not be getting consistent work. And that doesn't necessarily mean there's anything wrong with what you're doing. It's just a time that is quiet, and like that always happens in every field. Definitely, I think building up the confidence is super important to believe in yourself and believe that like every step you take, whether it feels like a step backwards or you feel like you're starting to doubt yourself, like you just have to trust that you're being pushed in the right direction in one way or another. And that's been really hard for me, like throughout this time, is just not doubting myself. And now since this year, I've really made a conscious effort to like not let doubt feed into my mind. And I can feel that there's already such a difference in my practice. And yeah, I guess showing self-compassion and just trusting that like if you keep going at something, like you will succeed. It's just a time and expectation, like managing your expectations is also quite important, I think. So yeah.
So basically overthinking is the enemy.
Yes.
Basically, so do more, think less.
And value yourself. Like
Okay.
I think that as an artist, it's so easy to undervalue what you do. Maybe you're not someone who has lots of money, so you don't understand that there's lots of people out there with money. And it's easy to like, you know, not give yourself enough credit. And I think that people respect people who respect themselves, you know. So if you start to like stand up for yourself and price yourself and respect yourself, even if you think you're faking it, like people don't know the difference, you know. So I think, yeah, that's super important.
So a little bit of hustle and a little bit of fake it till you make it kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the thing about
Absolutely.
confidence.
Yeah.
No one knows if it's real or not.
So put your price and wing it.
Yeah,
basically.
and
Good.
sit with it and just trust the process, I think.
You have like a market like overseas, for example, or you just sell your artwork here in Australia?
Rosie can answer that one before I do.
So for me, I'm in a really funny period in my career at the moment where I've gone from always working with agencies. So I've always worked with agencies and brands, and because I was always based in London and in a city, that work actually came to me quite easily, because I think once people know that you're skilled in a certain area, and especially with my practice, I'm really flexible with my work. So I worked for about 5 years with an arts collective in London, and we'd paint anything and everything. So we'd paint hyperrealism, portraits, all the way through to real graphic work. And with that, it meant that a lot of opportunities could come my way because I was really flexible. Really different to Kate's practice, because I was always painting, so I was always in the creative field, and always creating art. I mean, I don't know if it counts as art if it doesn't really come from yourself. But yeah, so that's always been my main source of income. So here in Australia, I've also worked with a couple of agencies. There's an agency called Jolly Roller and Apparition Media, and they do a lot of commercial work that I still do. A lot of my income comes from. So that's how I've supported my own personal practice, where I'm just, same as Kate, really still exploring my own visual language and trying to make that stronger and more, more me, like more authentically, like as me I can
identity.
be. Yeah, but it has been great. Like I feel that now, I'm starting to get in commissions. And honestly, Instagram still is my main business driver. I get all my best jobs still through Instagram. Otherwise, it's people, asking for work internationally still. Weirdly, a lot of stuff in America. I got an article written on a colossal media site, and I think it's got a big American base over there. And so, I get a lot of requests through that. And so slowly Australia's picking up for me for painting-wise, but still global at the moment.
For me, I think, most of my work is being sold within Australia. I think that's mostly because my practice has actually evolved since me living in Australia. So, I started my practice when I was living in Melbourne 3 years ago. So through that time, I've built up a client base in Melbourne and then in Sydney and then up here as well. So I'm kind of selling between the three sort of main cities, but not really that much overseas. A few pieces in England to the motherland. Mostly Australia, because I've just nutted it out for 4 years straight in one place. Whilst Rosie's been moving around a lot, and I think when you start out in England, you already have a lot more sort of exposure to worldwideness. Australia is awesome, but it has its own little net of art, It's
more local based.
Yeah.
So sorry, my question. Are you both from Australia? No, you're from England.
England.
And you're from England as well. So you're both from England.
Yes.
Okay. So and you.
Repping.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm losing my accent though. Rosie's got a proper little geezer accent. She's like, oh, I'm from London.
Excuse
I'm
me.
like, shit, I've been here 4 years. I'm basically an Aussie now.
So why Australia and then why Sunny Coast? What brought you
That is
here?
a long story.
Yeah. Okay.
We don't have time
Can
for
you-
the life
can you-
story,
can you-
Rosie.
Can you make a long story short?
I met a boy.
Yeah, fair enough.
Ooh la la.
Well, we should all be thanking that guy. Yeah. Hey, thanks, bro. Yeah. about
And my
you?
story is I moved to Australia to pursue art, and I've quickly found that like Australia offers so much freedom. Like England has amazing opportunity, but there's so many people and a lot of competition. And I think as an emerging creative, Australia is an incredible place to be because you have freedom, because you don't have to like slave away every day working just to pay your rent. So I started working hospitality for maybe like 3-4 days a week, and I had more money than I ever had working, 6 days in England. So I quickly was able to afford a studio and then able to take time to actually focus on my practice. I'm sure many people in the room also who are not from Australia will be like understanding that like coming from somewhere else, you feel so grateful to live in a country that supports you so highly with high wages, and it just gives you this little push that you're able to like pursue your dreams, which feels so difficult to do in other countries. So it's because of Australia that I was able to actually start my art career.
And then you at the moment you're both working on the same warehouse.
Yes.
Yeah, how's that going? Because you met very recently, or did you meet before that warehouse sharing space?
No, we met recently. Yeah, we met recently.
Yeah, big thanks to the shelter for making an amazing creative space. Yeah, it's so good. So, Universe, I went to one of the workshops at the shelter. I think put on, it was was it Latino hip hop workshop?
Oh, yeah,
I
that was
was-
by Nia. Yeah, Nia.
I was
did that
possibly the
workshop.
worst person there. I didn't know anyone, but I saw Kate's work in the warehouse, and I was like, "This looks sick." So found her on Instagram, sent her a message, and went for a coffee.
Yes.
And then I was really on the hunt for a studio. I'd been here for about 7 months, and I was looking for a place to paint. And I tried a few residencies, and I was just working at my garage. Nothing was really fitting. And then amazingly, just because the way the shelter structure changed, there was a space for me. So thank you.
There you go. Awesome.
Yeah, it's been amazing having you in the space as well. Like having someone working with me like downstairs, and now I'm like, okay, I have to go to the studio because otherwise Rosie will think I'm lazy. And holds me accountable a bit more. I'm a real adult.
So you have a little bit of accountability there. You don't want to look too lazy.
Yeah. And Rosie's so committed. Like Rosie is there every day, 5 days a week. She gets there at 7 or 8. She's there every day. I'm like, okay, Kate, you gotta brush up your skills.
I'm only there at 7 because we only have one car at the moment, and my only transportation is Dan going to work. So that's the only reason. But it's a good habit.
But it makes you look very professional.
Thank you.
So how many hours a week do you work roughly?
Rosie does about 70.
70 hours a week.
No, she
you
doesn't.
work
I have to
painting.
say, actually, I do have a bit of I don't know if anyone with a creative practice has this. I love what I do, and it's also a torture thing. There's more that you want to do, there's more that you want to create, and it's actually hard to stop.
You're a bit of a workaholic.
I don't know, I'm a creatorholic, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good way to say
it is work, sure, it's work, but it's often there's nothing else that I actually want to be doing, and it's only because I have my partner Dan, who is like, we should probably do something fun, that I'm like, okay, time to leave the studio.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you do what you love for a living, like when I first started working for myself full time, I felt like I was cheating. Like there was something wrong because every day is so much fun and every day is just filled with like I don't know, just feeling good. And I'd always just had jobs which meant that you had to work really hard, and I had this idea that like hard work equals work, but actually like when you work for yourself and you are able to do something every day that you love, you are just like in awe of being there, and then you're like, I can't put this down, I'm loving it so much, you're like, it's not work, it's play. but luckily we get to earn money from it.
So there's nothing wrong with that. I think like we need to change that
Yeah.
mindset of
It's
earning money
conditioning.
doesn't have to be a pain. I mean, sometimes maybe it does, depending on your situation, but you just have to remove that mindset that we've been, it's like a little chip, yeah, that you've been like, oh,
Yeah.
you got to earn your buck and
You have
just
to
work
work
hard.
hard.
You have to work hard.
And working
stuff, yeah.
smart and not hard was the best advice I ever got, you know? Like, you don't have to trade, like, every hour of the day to, like, earn money. Like, you can come in, you can work for 3 hours and you can go home, but be super productive in that time. That's what I learned about myself. Like, I don't work well if I am put in the same spot for, like, 8 hours a day. Like, I go in, I have ideas that I want to do, I do it, and I'm like, cool, I'm going to go for a swim, or I'm going to go, like, eat loads of food or something, you know. So
Something to get that inspiration and
Yeah.
that will to start doing something. Yeah.
exactly, because that's so,
So
important.
you would definitely recommend sharing a space with someone
Yeah,
to,
Definitely.
you know,
For me, it's been really good, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
just
definitely.
bouncing ideas off someone. And as an artist, you spend a lot of time, obviously, by yourself and in your own brain. So it's, I think, healthy to share.
and be like, hello, am I crazy? Rosie, can you please look at this? And she's like, oh yeah, blah, 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 you know.
Yeah,
like,
I
change
feel
this,
like problem
blah, blah, blah,
solving
blah.
is a bit easier, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah.
Two
And they're like,
people,
ah,
sure.
cool. Otherwise, when you're on your own, you're like staring at this thing, like going, and you know, like it's so much nicer having people. We're human. We need humans, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So you need to be working with someone. It's good to have a person to share with your stuff, what you're doing, get some feedback as well. It's important. Is there any people that, you know, you looked up to, something like that, or like, you know, someone that inspired you through your career that you said, oh, that guy really pushed me? Like in your case, was that agency that told you, hey, you need to do that and you'll smash it?
Yeah.
But it was there someone else that helped you, you know, like is there anybody from your outside that, you know, pushed you to get over that self-doubt, get over that, where you, I don't know if I'm asking too many questions in one.
No, you're making sense. It's just
Okay.
it's a hard one because I've always wanted like a mentor, but it's actually really hard to find. Like it's hard to find someone who you genuinely have a rapport with that isn't like in a business sense. I don't know how to explain it, but I think the people that I've learnt the most from are actually people who I've shared studios with. In Melbourne, I had a partner in my studio. She was always there to just like answer my doubt, and she was very like calm and collected, and she was also from England and she was a bit older, so she was able to just like kind of, I would be like this emotional like, what am I doing? I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm not making any money. And she's like, whoa, like, you know, and straight away, because you've been able to talk about it, and I respected her process and her practice and like the sort of stages she'd had in her life. Like that is people, it's just people that can like basically hear you and support you. And I guess, yeah, I haven't ever had like a mentor, but I think the importance comes from just having someone with you at the time that you're feeling doubtful, that you can just say it and then they can reflect it to you and then it's gone, you know, like I think, yeah. But sometimes that has to be someone you respect creatively. So it's like finding the balance of them also being creative or business headed or just understanding what you're going through. What about you, Rosie?
Yeah, I was really lucky. I had two amazing mentors. When I stopped studying, I was trying to work out how I was going to make a living from art, and I emailed loads of creative collectives in London, just basically asking for work experience. And incredibly, this really small arts collective said yes, they were looking to take someone on, and they painted large-scale spray paint murals, and I learned more in 3 years with them than I did 3 years studying. They had so much ambition and so much drive, and they were also highly talented, and they taught me how to spray paint. So I was technically skilled painting, but they literally took me on all their jobs and just taught me the art of painting with cans and painting large scales. So how to like commercially scale up work huge, how to design for brands, how to do spray paint workshops, how to customize products, how to do live art at events. So I was so lucky that they came into my life. It was a guy called David Speed, who's doing incredibly well now. He's one of the probably top street artists in England at the moment. And then Adam Brazier, who's transitioned his career as a photographer now. And he's shooting for all the top model agencies in London. So they've smashed it. But I met them when we were just in a tiny shoebox basement office. So yeah, they've done great. I was really lucky to have met them.
So it's also about putting the hours, but also sustaining it in time. There's no point of you working your ass 1 year and then stop.
Absolutely.
And then you just have to keep on
Yeah,
going.
these guys have been at it for probably about 12 years solidly, and I'd say in the last 2 years the fruits have really started coming in. I know you said once a while back, just got to hold on to that ship. Just keep holding on.
Like, you just got to hold on to that ship and you just don't jump overboard, you know? That's my philosophy anyway.
Anybody has any questions that they would like to ask from an artist to an artist, or anything that you might want to know? I'm just checking, just in case. You don't have to. Yes?
Are you English?
Yo.
I just couldn't hear. Sorry. Can you repeat the question, please?
Nice.
I'm from Bromley.
Bromley.
Okay, I'm just gonna repeat that question so we have it. It's like, when did you want to become an artist?
Basically, the only thing I was good at. So I was like, I better do that.
That's not true.
No, that's not true. It's not entirely true. It's where my natural talent was. You know, like when the things that just you're naturally better at. It was always the arts. I did have a stint in marketing in London. Hated it. I was like, I'm going to have a proper job. So I did that for a bit. I have to say I was really lucky living close to London opportunities. I do think that's a big reason why I managed to pursue it as a job. But yeah, really and truly, it was just the only thing ever on my heart. And I'm just lucky that I've come this far. So yeah.
Yeah, my story is kind of the same. Like, I loved art at school. Again, like, emotional flow came through the process of art. There was like a stint where I was like, no, I don't want to do art. I want to go to drama school. And so I like applied for like 3 years to go to drama school because I was like super committed to like not doing the path that was really obvious to me. And then, yeah, I mean, the universe says, hey, no, you're like going off course. Like, this is where you're supposed to be. And so, yeah, I ended up doing what I love. And actually, yeah, I went to art school, but I didn't really do any painting or anything that I do now. It was more like conceptual and more like, I don't know, performance art and like all of the other things like sculpture, installation. And after that, I was like, okay, how can I, you know, take what I've learned and put it into something that's accessible to me right now as a broke graduate. And yeah, Australia was able to help me do that, but yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. Oh, do you have a question? Yes.
So the question is,
do you see yourself like in 20 years time, or you don't? Maybe you don't really, and maybe you work on a short term like
basis.
Okay, goals. I have the goals for my next 3 years, or you have like goals that you want to reach in the next 20 years.
My long-term goal is I want to get represented by a top London gallery. Like, that's going to happen. I've got a couple that I've got my eyes on. Yeah, I'm just going to keep picturing that. I think, you know, when I left art school, if someone had said to me, you'd still be making money from art, you know, in 10 years' time, most people you graduate with don't. The fact that I've managed to do this is giving me hope that the things that I want from my career are going to happen. So I have no idea how that's going to happen, but there's a couple of galleries I really want to get represented by, and then there's a couple of street art festivals that I really want to get selected for. So there's one called Powwow Hawaii and Hong Kong Walls. If I get selected for those two, that's why I quit. I'm done.
Retirement comes early, my friend. Yeah, I think I don't really work like that. I think I work with like I'm somewhere between the two, I think. I have ideas that I would like to do in the future. I see myself making art like forever. It's not something I just think is a temporary sort of phase, or I see myself being old, like, you know, like painting. But also, I think I'm aware that, like in Rosie's case, there's things directly that she knows she wants to do. But I think because I work in a way that's like intuitive and I'm just creating canvases, I'm not so like, it's not as fixed. So yeah, I'd love to be represented in Europe by like someone in Europe, and then also in England. RIP England is not part of Europe anymore. So yeah, Europe and England and also Australia. Like the goal for me would be able to like move around the world and have like art selling in multiple countries. Yeah.
You know what's going to be good in some years' time when we see all this shit happening? That's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to happen.
I heard it say it.
Let's
All right,
hope.
guys, we're out of time, so thank you very much for sharing
Thank
your
you so
story,
much.
and
Thank
thank you everyone for
Thank you,
listening. You're the best.
everyone.
Thank you.